All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back talking about The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 2. It's your boy, Adrian Grody from ZUDECAST and the creator of Cosmic Lore Comics. And we got...
This is Taba Best Wilson, basketball coach, basketball trainer, writer, artist as well. So, dope.
Yeah.
To be here again, Episode 2.
Hello, and we are both Star Wars nerds talking about Mandalorian. The new episode just dropped last night.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I think it was a big improvement from episode 1 of this season. Definitely moved the plot forward a lot more. I felt like it was way more immersive and had way more of a sense of like adventure than the first episode. That first episode was just like a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
And I felt way more invested in the action of this episode too. I think it had a better runtime, 45 minutes versus 20 minutes. Like that's a lot more time to play with and to move the story forward.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think I feel like the first episode was not bad. It was just setting the table from my perspective, so I didn't really have an issue with the execution of it. I just felt like it could have been longer. We could have saw a little bit more action, I guess. We talked about the darksaber being more of a thing in the first episode of season 3. I think that would have made that entry a little bit stronger. And but I feel like all the cards were put on the table in episode 1. And episode 2 really picked up, and started handing it out, dealing all the hands to everyone. So I think definitely very strong entry in episode 2, and a lot of the plot points we talked about is we're kind of obviously seeing them kind of move those things forward, so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely didn't feel like there was any filler in this episode. This episode was like right to the business of what they set up in Book of Boba Fett about him redeeming himself, and like we finally get to go to Mandalore, which again I think this is the first time we see Mandalore since Siege of Mandalore, right? Like I don't think there's really anything else that's really gone
there's like
there
some
yet.
clips of like it being destroyed pretty much, but this first time we actually get to actually be inside and see like what's actually going on there right now, so that's pretty cool.
Like I think they built up to it so well that seeing it and being like exploring in it actually had a lot of impact for me, because like he had to like test the the atmosphere and stuff, and there's all this intrigue about like nobody really knows what even happened there yet, because that's how much it got destroyed.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a trip, because I love Siege of Mandalore. That's one of my favorite Star Wars things period ever. And
it's pretty awesome
seeing that, seeing the setting come back was a trip to me.
Yeah. I think we're obviously clearly entering a territory where it's like civil war is on the brink. We have the two people on the different sides of the Mandalore, ideologies, in Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. And like obviously like the question is like, are they going to clash heads or are they going to come together? And it seems like they're probably going to come together. And it's very clear to me, I think they're planting the seeds of eventually Bo-Katan is going to be the leader of the Mandalorian.
I think so. That's definitely what was set up in this episode, because full spoilers for the episode, of course, just got to say that. But like when the Din lost his gun at one point, and so he's trying to wield the darksaber against him, and I think like he's having a hard time with it. But then later on, Bo-Katan comes around and uses the darksaber to help save Din at a later point, and she's so much more comfortable with it, so much more like it clearly responds to her better. And I definitely think that's what they're setting up. Now there's the whole thing about it's like, how are they gonna get that transfer of the mantle while still pertaining to their culture and stuff.
Right.
That's definitely, I definitely think that's what they're setting up. But I liked the amount of I did like the amount of Bo-Katan, because it's like, she fits perfectly into this story. Like it's not like she's out of place, or it's like a some people kind of complain about like fan service stuff. You're just putting different Star Wars stuff in here. It's like, well, she's a Mandalorian. It makes sense,
Yeah. It's very unforced, I think, in my opinion. It's definitely like it's natural. It's a natural progression of things, and like for those of you guys that don't necessarily understand the lore of the darksaber itself, Tar Vizsla, I believe, is the ancient Vizsla. Not Pre Vizsla, who was in the Clone Wars show, the descendant of Tar Vizsla. But Tar Vizsla, he basically was a Jedi and a Mandalorian. I'm not going to run through the whole history of the Mandalorian society, but I will start with the Jedi Mandalorian situation. he was there. He created the Darksaber. He ruled over the Mandalorian faction for a time, and then obviously there was a cut off, and the two main sides was the pacifist group, and then the Death Watch, and so that's where Bo-Katan comes out of. She comes out of the Death Watch situation. She gets the Darksaber. Darth Maul had it previously. He killed previously. So really, the interesting thing about it is the way that you really are able to wield the Darksaber and actually be a part of leading the Mandalorians is if you beat someone in combat for the Darksaber. So technically, it was Darth Vader. It was Darth Maul's first, right? And then he leaves it somewhere, and then the chick from Rebels, who was the Mandalorian from Rebels? What's her name?
I forget, but
she gets it. She gives it to Bo-Katan, and so it's not legitimate for Bo-Katan to have it at this time because she didn't actually win it in combat. So that was a big thing from her group or whatever.
Well, who should technically have the Darksaber is Ahsoka, because Ahsoka beat Darth Maul.
Right, I was going to get to that. So that's what I'm saying.
Darth Maul.
Ahsoka beat Darth Maul. So really the person that should own the Darksaber right now is Ahsoka.
That's a wrench in the gears. I didn't even really think about, man. Ahsoka should have at least some interaction.
Some kind of claim to that whole thing.
She should at least have some sort of interaction in this storyline because she should know a thing or two about that. Actually, I didn't really think about that before right now.
And then Giancarlo Esposito, what's his character name again?
Oh, Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon. He defeats Bo-Katan, and that's how he gets. We don't see it on screen ever, but that's how he gets possession of the Darksaber. So you could argue that it's Ahsoka's. You could argue that it's Moff Gideon's, and then obviously, down the line, the boy Din Djarin gets it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that because I really do think that they're either going to kill off Bo-Katan, which I don't think they'll do because she's a dope character, or she's going to be the leader of the Mandalorian. So how does she get the legitimate, title of, Mandalore when Din Djarin is the, quote unquote legitimate, owner of the Darksaber currently? I
think there's definitely I like the kind of there's a mystical kind of feeling around the Darksaber. It actually feels like a magic artifact, which you don't really have too much of that in Star Wars. I feel like it's you have it more in the comics and stuff. I feel like there's Force echoes, things carrying energy and stuff.
Right.
But I don't really think you see that so much in the shows or in the movies as much as you kind of could. They kind of did it in The Force Awakens where she touched the the original lightsaber and got all these visions. But this is the first one where I feel like the Darksaber very much so kind of has its own will too. Because it's if you're not meant to have it, Din's clearly not meant to have it. I don't think and it's he.
Well, yeah, it's because the way they go into it, and this, again, was originally stated in Rebels is the first one that I remember them saying it. It was Kanan Jarrus's character. He was basically explaining that you basically have to have, a will that's, stable, and you can't have any conflict inside for you to really, truly wield the Darksaber. And so that's why Bo-Katan is so, natural with it, because she has no inner conflict. Din Djarin throughout the whole series has always had a certain conflict of identity and what he wants to do, what his motivations are. Yeah, Bo-Katan's motivations have been clear from the beginning. She wants to rebuild the Mandalorian, society to make it, how she knows her descendants would want, or her ancestors would have wanted, and she's clear on that, so it's it makes sense that she would be able to wield it and just be kicking ass, even though she hasn't had it for a hell of a long time. But Din Djarin, who's had it this whole time, is he's still struggling because he still has that inner conflict.
I think it's gonna kind of build up to where this kind of who's gonna end up with the Darksaber. I think it's a good thing that they're gonna keep not drag out, but I think they're gonna keep that kind of will they? It's a will they won't they, but with the lightsaber.
Yeah.
No, but I think that they're gonna keep that kind of ambiguity going, and I think that Din's probably gonna have some character develop it, and it's gonna make him feel kind of like Thor's hammer. He's gonna be more worthy to it. So, but I do think ultimately Bo-Katan is and should end up with it.
Absolutely, yeah. That makes the most sense.
But yeah, just to jump back into the plot of the episode too, we actually get to explore this blown out version of Mandalore, and it has kind of a creepy vibe to it, you know. Yeah. I was just saying I like a little bit more spooky Star Wars. I like gross monsters. I like real kind of stakes. And yeah, these fools were gross. They were funky looking. They were like weird like orc looking motherfuckers.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by the few jump scares we got in this episode. Which
Dude,
really
they
cool.
got me a couple times because like there was the one where he handles all these little guys, but then at one point there's like he's just investigating, and this big like claw droid antagonist guy. We didn't even learn his name in the episode, but I thought he was a cool. Yeah, I didn't need to know his name. I was just like, yo, what the hell is this? Like, this guy's sketch. Like,
like some techno-organic, like cyborg type of thing. Because you saw like the flesh eye, and there's like it's like you were a living being, but you're also a droid, and that's weird.
I was definitely like got like General Grievous vibes. Like it's like that kind of technology because he was moving around like a spider too, kind of.
Right.
And cybernetics is something that's being like. Definitely the comics are fleshing that idea out more. The Book of Boba Fett had some of that. But this guy felt like for the first time I was like, yo, this is like a really like weird alien threat. This guy's sketch. Like, because you don't even know what he's doing down there. Right, he's just like eating other people and like, I don't know. Like,
see like the backstory of how they got, how they got there, and how does that kind of coincide with like the fall of Mandalore and
so I was a little curious about, like, not confused, but like I was like, okay, this guy's like, what even is this, and like what kind of antagonists are gonna be here going on. So I thought it was interesting, like, because we haven't had just like unique enemy designs in a minute, I feel like, and so it's cool to see him fighting something different that's just like something new, because it felt like a droid, but it was also like kind of Grievousy, but it was also just some thing, and it's like we didn't know what it really was. We don't really have to know, I mean, I'm sure somebody does actually, knows. This is probably a deep cut reference to a book somewhere or something.
Yeah, probably.
But
everything's all connected in Star Wars.
Yeah, but it was cool. I liked it. And then the fight with Bo-Katan, I kind of feel like it was a little bit like not lame that Din got like caught up, and then Grogu went all the way back to go help her, and then came all the way back, and like it kind of felt like it was just like 10 minutes, but it's like that would be like a day or two or something, like
I
that's,
didn't even think about that, but that he did get there really quick. It was like within it's like 10 minutes of like capture or whatever.
And I think maybe I think it's because Bo-Katan's on one of the moons though, so she's not that far.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She's not that far, but still, like I don't know. I felt like that was a little bit.
I forgot that there's like literally on the moon of that planet, so that kind of makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, but it was cool. Definitely seeing her like like it's almost like like I was just watching this horror movie called Barbarian, where like there's a scene where like they all go down into the basement, but all the different characters like approach it totally different, and it's shot differently.
Yeah.
I felt like her going down into Mandalore was kind of like that, because she had a total different like response to how she went in. She went in way more like confidently, was way more familiar. But also was just like, damn, like there was a lot more of like emotional impact to it.
You can see, like, you can tell she doesn't want to be there.
It was hard for her to be there, exactly, which I thought that was cool. Whereas Din had a very like almost like very curious kind of attitude to going it. Like he was exploring, but like because he's on his own mission.
Yeah.
And then she tries to take him to leave, but he's like, nah, I'm still on this mission.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta get baptized, man. I gotta get baptized.
Yeah, he needs to cleanse himself of his sins. But yeah, so I thought it was, I mean, I like these two paired together. I think these two could certainly be the main characters of the show, and I wouldn't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think that never mind, that's the whole thing. But I think I liked where it was going, and the kind of when they finally hit the what are they called, the cleansing waters,
the living waters.
The living waters.
Yeah.
I really liked that part, because it felt like there's like in Star Wars, I feel like nature is kind of a big theme, and like nature having like its own like force energy and its own kind of spiritual stuff going on with it, and I don't know. It was just like really, again, kind of that like the fantasy vibes that I really feel like have been kind of missing from Star Wars were pretty present in that regard.
Yeah.
And also I mean, the stinger of the episode was definitely something that had me kind of because again, Bo-Katan's explaining the lore of what the place that they're even in is all about. And then you get this, you know, suspenseful scene of, you know, Din gets sucked under the water and Bo goes to save him, but then in the water there's actually like a mythosaur, which is like the Mandalorian like dragon, you know, that's like their mythical creature that
she
got
kind of
tamed
giving
and
the
stuff.
cliff notes of the history of the Mandalorian. She kind of briefly kind of got over draw up on like, you know, the idea of, you know, Darth Maul being a part of, you know, the Mandalorian history. She didn't drop a name, but she kind of spoke on it a little bit, which I thought was really cool. And like, you know, I love that, like, you know, we saw a mythosaur because, like, you know, this brings it back, you know, full circle. You know, you see the logo that they, you know, are famous for rocking and all of that. And it's called the Living Waters because the mythosaur is still alive. So they are the Living Waters. It's legitimate, you know? So I thought that was really cool.
Like,
how they kind of, like, just put that little Easter egg in there, like, yeah.
It definitely, yeah, like I was like shocked, but in a good way. That was like a good final like stinger to have for the episode, because it literally just like opens its eyes and turns its head. Like it's so subtle, you know. It's almost on like some kind of almost like Lovecraftian energy where you're just in awe of this big creature and you're like, whoa. Whoa, you know, because she was shook when she got out of the water. She was like, oh, she was just talking all this shit about the mythosaur isn't alive, and it's just like, nah, it's just like right there, like,
and it just shows like how beautiful like the future of the Mandalorian potential is right now, because it's like, you know, you think everything's over, you know, their whole place got fucked up, and you know, she's like, oh, it's done, it's dead, like, you know, nobody will follow me. All this stuff, but it's like, no, actually, like everything is here for you guys to, you know, create the Mandalorian, you know, culture as beautiful as it ever was before. You know, you just got to put the work in now. You know.
Yeah, man, I thought it was awesome because it drove the story forward. It expanded the lore. It gave us some action. You were invested in the action because the action is, you know, surrounding, you know, the actual story. So I thought it was cool. You know, a lot of the stuff that I said about last episode are kind of not here in this episode, which is good. It feels like it's more of like a main plot episode. There's no filler, no setup. Like it was actually like a mission in a video game. Yeah, I liked it. Although I will say I saw IGN gave this episode a 5, and I was like, what the hell? Like, that's absurd. I thought it's at least not a 5. Like, bro. And they're just like, it's too dark. You can't see anything. It's like, they're in a dark, freaking creepy cave. Like,
they obviously had their brightness down too low.
That's what I'm saying.
My brightness was
like,
up enough to where I could see everything. Even
I thought it was.
I
thought it looked fine, you know. And it's like, even like, yeah, like you could say like, oh, maybe the dude's lair was a little washed out, like with the yellow. But it's like, dude, I thought the lighting was fine. I didn't have a problem seeing anything, like, especially given the context that we're in, like, a dark, disgusting mine. And, like, yeah, these fools are meant to be creepy. And, like, yeah, stuff's meant to jump out at you. Like, I like when they do that, when they make, like, just, like, a real ominous atmosphere, you know? Oh, something else I liked about this episode, too. Grogu actually got to do something. He got to help out. He got to have his own little set piece sequence. I'm not gonna lie, I was dying because I was really high when I was watching it. But when he was just like dipping in his little pot, I was like, let's go. Like I was like just getting so hyped for no reason, because I'm like, he's finally getting to do stuff, you know. And he was like, go get help, and like he did it, like, you know, and he had to like, you know, duck and weave, and he like force pushed like one of those little creepy goblin fools out of the way. And I was like, finally, let's go. Yeah, like, because he, you know, it's fine if he doesn't talk, but he needs to do stuff, you know, and he needs to have characterization. And it's like, yeah, you see the little guy, he's like way more confident now. And that's what's up. Like, I think that was, again, that's a complaint I had on the last episode. But it's like, yeah, if we actually get these boys going on some adventures, yeah, of course they're going to be able to, you know, have different skills and different sets of things they can do. You know,
I'm looking forward to seeing his personality become more pronounced over time. It was really cool to see him kind of just go and, you know, be competent and do his thing like that. You know, you see the force powers and stuff like that, which is really cool. I just really hope, you know, like I said last episode, I want to see a preteen Grogu eventually. I will settle for a toddler Grogu by the end of this season, where he could actually, like, I want him to actually be able to, you know, complete his sentences. You know, you see him like say a couple words here and there, which is cool because we didn't see that ever before. So that's cool. He's speaking a little bit now, but like I need to hear him actually, you know, create a sentence. I want to see more growth with Grogu.
Well,
He's such a great character. He's so much potential with him, and obviously they can milk that thing forever. But it's like I just want to see more growth from Grogu.
Well,
so
I think the ultimate stinger to end this season on, if because I think the idea too is that it's like Grogu's gonna be sort of more like a Mandalorian,
right,
in culture than a Jedi.
Yeah.
Even though he's a Force user.
But a Force user, which is really awesome.
But I think like a real good stinger to hit this season with, if they did get Grogu to talk, is for him to say the way this is, like like to say it backwards, like in the Yoda talk.
Oh yeah, he has to have Yoda talk.
Yeah.
We need Yoda talk for Grogu.
Like if it's like little baby voice doing the Yoda talk, saying the way this is, like
we need that.
Yeah, I think that would be that's a L if they don't do that.
Yeah, because we see like Yoda's species, they don't have to talk Yoda talk. Like you saw Yaddle, she didn't really have Yoda talk really much,
Mm-hmm.
But we need Grogu to have that Yoda slang.
That's for sure. Yeah, man, that's just about it. I'll say too. I think I was definitely pretty curious too by like who was that guy though? That's one of the questions I have left over from the it's like, are there a bunch of fools like that on the planet, like or also too, it's like, is there any more Empire stuff going on? Like I know it's not the main focus right now, but you think there'd be like some droids or some scouts there or some like like the probe droids that like are just floating around and have the cameras, like like there's. And I know that's kind of like, oh, they were defeated at the end of the, Moff Gideon's arrested or whatever. But I'm sure we'll get a follow up on that at some point. But that's kind of a question too, though, because again, it's like, we can go back to Mandalore, and like that's clearly what the next couple episodes are about to be about. Maybe that's what this whole season's gonna be about. Honestly, I wouldn't be too mad if that's what happens, But I think some of the other elements, I'm just what else is going on too at play, because there's always something going on in the background.
I just wonder more so, where does Mandalorian tie in? Because clearly it seems, unfortunately to my chagrin, they are leaning into just keeping 7, 8, 9 as canon. I've heard a lot of rumors of them making a new trilogy that's just basically going to build on after, with Rey as the obvious lead and things like that. I hate that. But it is what it is. Like I literally my girlfriend was watching episode 7 a couple days ago, and I just literally came in on the part where they killed off Han Solo. I was like, yep, I hate this shit all over again. But obviously it is what it is. Whatever. But my question is, where does Din Djarin and the Mandalorians and Grogu fit into that, right? Because we didn't see any of that at all. I hope that there's like some kind of thing where they connected into the new trilogy, if they were going to go this route and just keep it this way and not have like the alternate reality thing, which I would love to see. If they're going to just lean into it, say this happened, what happened with the Mandalorians? What happened with Din Djarin? What happened with Grogu? And where are they at the time that all this stuff was going down over there,
See, I think the way to handle that would be to like take these storylines, build them to go like to a point where they run like congruently with the events of the sequel trilogy,
right? And
then that'll it'll be a fat retcon, of course, but like if you take some of these characters and some of these plot lines and just take them all the way up, run it alongside, and then sort of make it just fucking fit, sort of, and then go from there. I mean, people hated the prequel trilogies for a long time because they felt like they just weren't on the same vibe. They didn't feel connected, but a lot of the material that fleshed out the prequel era has made it pretty goated, and just as goated as the original era, for sure, like all the old Legends stuff. And they're trying, there's some stuff in season 2 that kind of connected to like cloning, and then the Bad Batch has kind of an arc going on about cloning, and Mount Tanith. We saw a little bit
of it in Obi-Wan series 2.
They had like the Jedi's frozen, and then Fallen Order 2 is about to revolve around, a lot of people think it's going to be like a clone of a Dark Jedi is going to be the villain.
Yeah.
And I do think that's where they're going, because like Force sensitive clones, very clearly the next step. Just like I said, robot troopers is the next step, because you have clones, you got stormtroopers, or droids, then stormtroopers. Droid troopers is next.
It'll be interesting where Omega from Bad Batch ties into all that, because she's obviously very involved with that too. So.
I am very interested in that, because that was kind of a definitely a curveball for the lore. I think. But Omega, I think Omega could pop up in the Mandalorian at some point. I also want Cal Kestis to pop up in the Mandalorian. Cool. I think Cal Kestis needs to have a live action appearance kind of soon. You know, you're kind of fucking up by not. Like
he will. I think he will.
At least in one episode, or you know, like.
Yeah. It'll be a missed opportunity if they don't give.
Because like you really have Cameron Monaghan, like he's there, like he's a real person, like he's just there. You don't need to worry about casting it, like.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely think it was a step up. Definitely got me more excited for where the main storyline's gonna go. I will say again though, it still feels like episode 4 of season 3, not episode 2. You know, because those other two, like it's continuing the plot line that got set up there. So yeah, it was cool. I'm excited. I liked it. I need to catch up on Bad Batch, so we can maybe talk about that before next episode too. We could watch that before the next episode, and
there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with Star Wars nowadays. So
yeah, I'm surprised honestly we don't have any like Mandalorian like comics going on, because you could easily do just like a prequel comic of just him fighting random fools and being a bounty hunter.
Yeah, just like his life before everything. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think we're definitely gonna get that. Remember, it's like undeniable that we're gonna get that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that needs to be a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Well, that's another episode review from us. Appreciate everybody who watched. If you made it this far, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you thought about Mandalorian. And yeah, man, we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time. May the force be with you.
That was dope.
How?